This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and today we're in Inglewood, Colorado. We're at the Iyer Law Office, LLC. Since 2005, V. Iyer has been a Denver criminal defense attorney, specializing in all phases and areas of criminal law. Thank you so much for joining us here, V. Why don't we start out first of all, before you were a deputy DA, before you began your law firm here, what got you involved in this industry? Have you always had an interest in the legal system?
Well, my father, when I was young, had his ambition that I be a trial lawyer. Actually, a barrister who would actually fight cases at trial. And the barrister is more of the English term. Here we call them trial lawyers.
In the country here, we find ourselves in a situation where we need some legal representation. We can reach out to a professional like yourself. Is this an area that you're actually proud to be in and help folks out there?
Absolutely, there's no doubt in my mind, because my job is to protect the person's rights, ensure that the government doesn't steamroll them, and also ensure that the government lives up to our constitutional values.
So a lot of times, folks out there, we're not so esteemed as to changes of laws going on. Let me ask you, before someone actually steps foot in a law firm or they go out seeking for someone, what do you recommend somebody as far as their due diligence? How should they research who they're doing business with?
If I had to use a criminal defense or a loved one of mine, a family member, a close friend, I would ask them to go back to the Bar Association. That's called the Attorney Regulations Office. Type in the person's last name and first name, and you'll get a report, at least if there's any sort of a disciplinary action. They played foul with the system, or have they run afoul with the rules of our profession. That's one thing very good. You'll also come to know when did they actually got admitted to practice in Colorado. Okay, that's again key. We are in Colorado. We have to do about Colorado law. He may be a great New York lawyer or somewhere else in Chicago. If he's not stepped foot in Colorado, he's a novice. Because rules from each state change.
Interesting.
And in each courthouse with
EA, how does that experience here in Colorado, how does that benefit folks that you now represent?
That's a very good point, because as a former deputy district attorney, I used to prosecute people, be in contact with police officers, law enforcement, like deputy sheriffs and state patrol and all the whole gambit of law enforcement, and also understanding the mindset of a prosecutor. When the papers come in, what they are looking at, what's in the report, what's missing, and how does the prosecutor view a case and how he wants to prosecute, and what type of offer he's willing to do based on the facts of the case. And I have found that as a prosecutor, police normally, unless it's a murder case or something real high profile, in the general run-of-the-mill cases, I call them, they don't do much investigation. All they do is get the information from the complaint, maybe one or two witnesses if possible, and that's it, file charges. Because the mindset of a police officer is this, that the lower level of criminal offenses, like say a criminal mischief or disturbing the peace or making too much of noise, is, if I'm in doubt as a police officer, let me pass it off to the prosecutor. It's called kicking the bucket. And then as a criminal defense attorney, it's my job to review and get all of the facts and present them to the prosecutor's office.
Really, all phases, all stages of criminal law is what you're bringing to the table yourself?
Yes, including DUIs, major traffic offenses like reckless driving, leaving the scene of the accident, all types of juvenile crimes. And then child welfare law, which is the civil side. That's the only civil side I do, is the civil side of juvenile law, when a child is removed from their parents or caregiver and placed in a foster home, and the Department of Social Service is involved. There also, I defend parents to get back their children.
Some serious situations you've definitely come across. What about those that are not so serious? Someone finds themselves being charged with a misdemeanor. When is it important to bring in a lawyer for that type of situation?
Any crime that you're accused of is serious. May not be that you'll go to jail, because that's the least serious consequence as you look at it, because it's a one time. Sure. You mess up, you're sentenced to jail, saying if you get the maximum, but then it's over with. But the collateral consequence means consequence flowing out of that you may not be able to seal your criminal record. You may not be able to expunge in the case of a juvenile a criminal record. Loss of job opportunities, because in every job they ask you, have you ever had a contact with law enforcement? The other part is looking for a home. You may not get into a prime home. Or schools. I've had a client who had some issues until he got his record sealed. The school would not allow the parent who had a criminal record to enter the school grounds or be involved with the children, his own children.
Let's say folks find themselves in a situation where even good law-abiding citizens find a DUI charge possibly coming up on them. How are you able to guide them through that process?
First of all, it's important to file your request for a hearing within 7 days once you get a notice of revocation. And that's cast in stone. You miss it by 1 day, you're out. You've lost your right to have a hearing. It's important to get the hearing, because once you get the hearing, you can at least inquire of the officer for the officer's basis, and also inquire into what information he's not put into the document. Next, when it goes on the criminal side, because the driver's license is on the civil side, you may lose your license. Make sure that the client's rights are protected and that he knows when and how to get his license back, or to see that his license is not revoked. Criminal side is a little more complex in the sense that you have to review the documentation, see what tests was done, whether there was a refusal or not, whether it's a valid refusal, whether the test that the officer asked was right in that way, whether he had probable cause, whether there was probable cause in the first place to make the initial contact to ask the client to do. And I always tell people that never do the roadsides. What is roadsides? Basically, the officer will trick you into asking your permission to do the roadsides. And my caveat is never give consent to an officer to do anything to you if you don't have to.
Folks, take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. What you're going to see is the website. On his website, you're going to see his contact information. It's as simple as a click away. He would love to sit down with you in a consultation. Not every defense attorney out there can basically say they can cover all aspects, from the bail bond to the pre-arrest, all the way through a trial if need be, or even possibly an appeal. You really have covered all of the bases that you can help folks out there with.
Absolutely, yes.
If someone out there was thinking about using your services, what would you tell them?
I'd first ask them to go to my website, go on the internet and do their research. Because it's very important the client have some information about me and not look at how close is the person to my home, can I drive to the place. Find out what other people are saying about me. Those are the important things to look at. And never look at the price, because 2 attorneys or 3 attorneys or 100 attorneys are not the same, because personal service is different. It's an example that if you're eating at McDonald's, you're going to pay $5, but if you go to a top chef, he can charge you in $100 a burger, but that burger will be an experience.
Let me ask you this, B. How important is it for folks out there to find somebody with the experience like that of your law firm in not only trying cases in front of a judge or a bench, but also in front of a jury as well?
It's very important to have a experienced, trial-tested attorney for you, because you get only one shot at this, and any mistakes made at the trial will follow you for the rest of your life. Because the law is very clear. Unless the attorney knows what he's doing, and unless he objects, the appeals court normally will not even review it, unless what they've called is it must be a very serious type of mistake, something that even the judge should have known and should not have allowed. And I'm trying to make it into non-legally terms. I can use the legal terms and make people look a bit dazed, but I don't intend to do that. I always try to talk at the level of my client, who are not legal experts, so they should have the information in a manner that they can understand.
Sometimes these situations are not even with us personal, but possibly we have a parent out there that has found their child into a juvenile situation. How important is it for them to reach out to an attorney so that they are not basically taking the wrong steps?
Immediately, because police officers are known to trick the parents. They say, please, come in, and we're only trying to find out what's happening. This will help your child, it'll help you. But as I said, always, their job is to gather the evidence to see if there's a crime has been committed and go forward. I always tell parents, engage a criminal defense attorney whenever your child is involved in a criminal case. However, whether it's a misdemeanor, petty offense, or even a felony, because those things can haunt you. The criminal record for a juvenile is available and open to the public. People don't know that. If you know how to get it, you'll get it, and that'll haunt your child. Never, never allow your child to talk to the police officer. Never waive that right. Say, no, I'm hiring a lawyer for my child. Don't talk to my child without a presence of the attorney. Because that way the child's rights are protected. Because once you give up your right, it's gone. You don't get a second chance.
Well, we thank you for joining us here today, V. You've obviously shared a lot about your background, also a lot about choosing a lawyer that basically understands the mindset of the prosecutor as well as the other side, and understanding that anything that you find yourself in is serious because of the fact that it can follow the rest of your life on your record. This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and if you don't know, now you know.